All right, we've made it. After a wild journey through total doubt, we're at the grand finale of René Descartes' meditations. We've watched him tear down reality itself, and now, finally, he's ready to rebuild it. But there's one last massive question hanging in the air. Seriously, think about that. What if the thing you call you, your thoughts, your consciousness, your very self, is actually a completely separate thing from the physical body you walk around in? This is the key. Descartes is about to rebuild the entire world based on this one powerful idea. So, before we can put the universe back together, we have to face one last monumental doubt. You could say this is the final boss battle of the meditations. Okay, let's do a super quick recap. Descartes torched everything he thought he knew. He doubted it all until he hit rock bottom, that one unshakable truth. I think, therefore I am. He knows he exists, at least as a mind. From there, he managed to prove that a perfect, non-deceiving God must exist, which brings us right to the edge of our final problem. You see, even after all of that, Descartes still doesn't have a good reason to believe that the physical world is real. The chair he's sitting on, the room around him, even his own hands. For all he knows, it could still all be an incredibly vivid dream. He knows his mind is real, but the physical stuff, that's still up for grabs. So to crack this, he decides to get laser focused. He's going to put the two things in question right next to each other. His mind, which he knows is real, and his body, which he's not so sure about. Are they one and the same, or are they fundamentally different beasts? Now, his number one tool for this investigation is something he calls a clear and distinct idea. Think of this as his new gold standard for truth. Since he's proven God isn't a deceiver, he figures that any idea he can perceive with absolute, undeniable clarity, no fuzziness, no confusion, has to be true. So the question becomes, can he clearly and distinctly perceive his mind and his body as two separate things? Well, let's look at the evidence. When he examines their essential nature, they look like polar opposites. The mind, his essence, the I, is a thinking thing. It doesn't take up space, it's unextended. And you can't really cut a thought in half, right? It's indivisible. Now look at the body. It's the complete opposite. Its whole deal is being extended. It takes up space. It doesn't think. And of course, you can always divide a body into smaller parts. They are totally, completely different. And this brings him to this huge realization. In his own words, right here. He can perfectly, clearly, and distinctly imagine himself existing as only a thinking thing. And he can just as easily imagine a body existing as only an extended physical thing. And, well, if he can clearly conceive of one without the other, that means it must be possible for them to actually exist separately. But wait, there's more. Descartes gives us an even cooler, more elegant proof. It's this brilliant little thought experiment that shows a massive crack between how our mind works and how the physical world works. It all boils down to the difference between picturing something and just understanding it. Okay, so check this out. Imagination is when you try to conjure a mental picture of something. Pure intellection, or understanding, is when you just grasp the concept, the idea itself. So let's try it. Picture a triangle. Easy, right? You can see it in your mind's eye. That's imagination. Now, try to picture a chiliagon. That's a shape with 1,000 sides. You can understand what it is for sure. You get the definition, but can you actually picture it? No way. If you try, what you get in your head is just some vague, blurry blob. It looks pretty much the same as a 900-sided shape, or even a 10,000-sided one. Your intellect gets it perfectly, but your imagination just can't draw the picture distinctly. So what's the big deal? Well, here's the insight. That act of imagining, of trying to picture something, feels like it requires a special effort. It feels like the mind is turning towards something physical, almost like it's looking at an internal sketchpad. But pure understanding? That's just the mind working on its own. It's effortless and internal. And boom, that's the final piece of the puzzle. It brilliantly shows the divide. His mind, the I, can do things like pure understanding all by itself. But this other faculty, imagination, seems to rely on something else, something physical. And if that's true, then the mind and the body cannot be the same thing. They are truly, fundamentally distinct. Okay, with that huge distinction locked in, Descartes finally has the master key he needs to rebuild reality. He's ready to prove that the world outside his mind isn't just a dream after all. So let's just walk through the logic here. First, he notices that his senses, sight, sound, touch, they happen to him. They're involuntary. He doesn't choose to see a tree. The image just appears. Second, these perceptions have to be caused by something. Third, the cause can't be him, because, again, he's not willing them to happen. Fourth, the cause can't be God just planting these ideas in his head, because he's already established God isn't a deceiver. So if it's not him, and it's not God, what's left? The only remaining possibility is that the cause is actual, external, material things. The world is real. Your body is real. After all that doubt, reality is officially back online. But here's the twist. The world he comes back to isn't quite the same one he left behind. This whole journey through radical doubt has completely changed his and our understanding of what reality even is. And this raises a huge, obvious problem. If God guarantees reality and isn't a deceiver, then why do our senses lie to us all the time? You know, a stick in water looks bent, but it's straight. Things look tiny from far away. What's the deal? Isn't that a kind of deception? Descartes points to this really powerful and kind of haunting example, phantom limb pain. He'd heard about people who'd had an arm or a leg amputated, but they would still feel vivid, real pain in the limb that wasn't even there anymore. Now, that is a profound sensory error. The feeling is real, but where it's located is totally false. Clearly, our senses aren't giving us a perfect report of what's out there. And this leads him to his final, brilliant conclusion. The whole point of our senses isn't to give us perfect scientific knowledge about the true nature of things. That's what our intellect is for. No, the purpose of our senses is way more practical. It's to protect and guide the weird combination of our mind and body. They're a navigation system built for survival, telling us what's good for us and what's dangerous. They're not a truth engine. So yes, the world is real, but our connection to it is indirect. We don't see the world exactly as it is. We see it in a way that's useful for us to stay alive. The world of physics, of size, shape, and motion, that's real. But the world of our senses, the colors, the sounds, the pains, the pleasures, that's a unique creation that only exists in that mysterious space where our mind and body meet. And that's where we end up, right here, in the profound tension of Descartes' new reality. He's proven that you, your mind, yourself, are not your body. You're a ghost in the machine. And yet you are so tangled up with it that you feel its every pain and pleasure as if they were your own. This idea would echo for centuries, shaping everything from medicine to psychology. And the question it leaves us with is not just what we are, but how in the world do these two impossibly different substances, mind and body, manage to live as one?